Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Masterclass meeting with Martin Wittmann. My name is Alef, Sales Manager of Turkey Market. Before we start our meeting, I would like to remind that you can click in the link, on the link in the invitation for the translation tool. You will choose your own language and you will start to see the text, but please also tap on the speaker icon in order to listen to the content and see the screen at the same time, so it will be easier for you to understand everything. And for Turkish audience, I will shortly say something. Türk misafirlerimiz, sizler Zoom panelindeki çeviri butonuna tıklayarak Türkçe kanalına gideceksiniz. Sizler için simultane tercüme var bölgeden ziyade. Yes, today our masterclass meeting topic will be the best of 2025. Martin will talk about our fundamental concepts such as microcurrent, quantum entanglement, patents, and Healy ecosystem, practical tips, and many more things. But since this will be a comprehensive content today, I hope that we will have some time, some buffer time to get the questions, and that's why we need to utilize the time. And I will now stop talking and hand over to Martin. Hi, Martin. Welcome.
Hello, Aleph. Thank you. Yeah, as Aleph already said, it's highlights of 2025, so it will be a lot. And so I start immediately to share the screen, so we actually can have the most out of it, and hopefully we make it on time. So let me start the presentation. Here we go. So as I already said, it's highlights 2025. It's the masterclass highlights, of course. And if you missed all the other masterclass, most likely you will find, at least I hope you will find, the very essence of every other presentation in this presentation. So yeah, it's the first time I do this, of course, and it's the first time I connected all the things as far as that is possible in this short amount of time. So let's start. So first a nice notice and a disclaimer. And I want to start with the types of current. So we will start with some really basic things and then come to some advanced science things. And then at the end we will have practical applications. So types of current. So as you all hopefully in the meantime know, we have direct current and alternating current. And of course, direct current is an unidirectional flow. So it's just one direction, no frequency modulation. And alternating current is basically able to be modulated in different frequencies, which you measure in hertz. Of course, we have various currents in our body. So we have brain waves, or various frequencies, not currents, or both actually. We have currents that are modulated in a different frequency, and that is brain waves, and that is 0.5 to 100 hertz, 150 hertz. Then the heartbeat, which is 0.05 to 100 hertz. So as we all know, if you sprint up the stairs, it's a little faster, the heartbeat. You have muscle activity, it's 20 to 500 hertz, and nerve signals, which is 1 to 1000 hertz. And those are also the frequencies that frequency-specific microcurrent mainly uses. The body, of course, naturally emits extremely low frequencies and electromagnetic fields associated with physiological processes. What does this mean? So every second of our life, let's put it like that. So every second we are actually alive, there's some current going through our body. Our heart is beating, our muscles are moving, our brain is thinking, and all this needs currents and frequencies. So that's what the human body basically, or that's what a big part of the, let's say, physical human body is made of. So, and if you look at microcurrent application and this fundamental physical principles, we are actually applying a very low level electrical current. So it's not like TENS machines, which have a high current and a high voltage. No, we're applying a very low current. And why? Because those currents are very similar to those of our body. So we are mirroring basically the natural internal currents of our body. And of course, as we all know, they are very, very important for all the functions of our body. So we couldn't move a muscle without currents. We couldn't think without currents. And no cell would function without currents. So that's basically where we tap in with microcurrent. And of course, very important, what is the structure of an electromagnetic field? So we had now current. We know now it's everywhere in the body. But every current that's flowing is also emitting a magnetic field. And I always tell the same story, and I will tell it again in this webinar. So I was in an institute when I had my master studies, and it was the course Magnetism in Medicine. And there we basically visited this institute that had a big gradiometer, or a nitrogen-cooled gradiometer. That's why it was so big, because the nitrogen coolage was so, let's say, extensive. And this is basically a tool to record very, very low magnetic fields. So they put this in front of the heart of a human, and then you could see the ECG of the heart, so the electrocardiogram, through the magnetic field. So you could measure it through the magnetic field. So the field, basically the magnetic field our heart emits, because there's always a current basically making the heart pump. So this pump mechanism is induced by a current. And this current is so big that you can basically measure it with such a tool. So everywhere where there's current in our body, there's also a magnetic field. Those two forces always coexist. So one is not really possible without the other. And that's quite important to know, especially with the MagHealy, which is also, of course, a pure magnetic field applicator. But if you have a magnetic field, you can also induce currents again. So that's a quite important thing to know. And if you use magnetic fields, you of course can also use them on water clusters. So you can say, okay, we can inform a water glass, but we can also say we inform the water in our body. So we actually basically putting certain information with certain frequencies through the magnetic field on the water molecules of our body. So here we have the hydrogen bond explained, or a little, let's say, illustrated. So the water molecules are quite polar. So one is a little negative, one is a little positive, and of course all the negatives and the positives can form, let's say, weak bonds. And those bonds, if they duplicate, basically you have structures. And those structures, of course, also contain information. And since we are in the, what fields do we have in the Healy ecosystem, we also have the Healy HighWave. So the Healy HighWave actually isn't using current or a magnetic field. No, it's using an electrical field. So it's using a carrier frequency for the whole body to create an electrical field. So you have a wristband that's attached to the body with two electrodes, and those two electrodes are in parallel, and they are basically enabling the HighWave to actually create this electrical field. And this electrical field then, of course, can penetrate into the tissue with all the frequencies that we have on the Healy. So what we have basically is we use the Healy with, for example, 100 Hertz or 200 Hertz, whatever the program that you use actually contains. And then we use the 5 megahertz that the HighWave itself, so there's a platina that actually creates this carrier wave with the basically voltage that the Healy emits. And on this 5 megahertz, you modulate the 100 hertz, which means that you basically switch on and off this carrier frequency with the 100 hertz. And this carrier frequencies enables, of course, the frequencies to go in the whole body or to penetrate the whole body. Now we make a very huge jump from this energy, so from electrical energy, magnetic energy, electrical field energy, to information energy. So what is information energy? So there's an information energy formula from Weizsäcker, which you can see here on the right side. So information contains also E, which is energy. So mass by the multiplied with the light, we call it light speed to the power of 2. So information actually contains energy. It's incredibly small, but it contains energy. So all those things are actually connected through energy. So we have energy that creates a magnetic field, energy that creates an electrical field, energy that creates a magnetic field. So, and energy that is contained in information. And now we immediately jump to Anton Zeilinger, who is also called Mr. Beam. And Anton Zeilinger did a very, very important experiment. So he performed a quantum teleportation. This means that you have a quantum entanglement between two particles, and if you change one particle, the change duplicates on the second particle. But those particles are not directly connected, so they are not next to each other. They are 100 kilometers away or even further. And this happens through quantum entanglement. So what is quantum entanglement? So quantum entanglement is a physical phenomenon which occurs when pairs of particles interact in a way that the quantum state of each particle cannot be described independently of the state of the other, even when the particles are separated by a large distance. A quantum entangled system is then generated, which means two particles are quantum entanglement, and if you change one, the other will also change. So they are basically one system. They are connected, which of course leads us to this famous quote that lots of gurus also use: everything is connected with everything. And I think that is something we really need to, let it sink in a little, because it's nothing that is, let's say, to be taken lightly. Because if you understand finally that everything is connected to everything, it doesn't make too much sense anymore to be harmful to anyone, to be greedy, to be hateful or something like that. Because you know, okay, what am I hating if everything is connected? Yeah, I hate myself. So to get rid of greed and hate, you simply need to look inside of yourself and see what is actually there that makes me greedy or hateful. Then, of course, connections can be created via consciousness and intention. So that's a very important fact that you need to know if you work with the information field analysis. So your conscious intention is able to actually form such connections, such quantum entanglements. So it's not the device that does it. It's not the therapist that does it. No, it's your connection to the therapist. It's your connection to the device. It's your connection to whomever that creates this actual, quantum entanglement. A connection is stronger the more conscious emotions are involved in the process. So what does that mean? It means if you just think very randomly about something or someone, the connection is quite weak. But if you are with your full emotion, with your full positive energy, thinking about something or someone, then the connection is very strong. There's a very strong entanglement. Yeah, and of course the information field is basically the level where the material and spiritual realm are connected. So that's where we actually connect what is, let's say, deep in our soul with what is basically touchable in our real world, which we call real. the information field is not bound to time and space. And that's also very important. It's a little hard to grasp for humans in general, because we are so, let's say, entangled in the concept of time. So we say, okay, I do this now, and tomorrow I do this, and in the past I did this. But when you talk about information field analysis, if you talk about those connections to the information field, there's no time anymore. And of course, as we just learned, if you have a quantum entanglement, there's also space is also not relevant anymore. It's only relevant that you know who to connect to or what to connect to. Yeah, and of course, what we do with information field analysis is to illuminate the meaning of material phenomena, which means at the end of the day, we simply look behind the curtain. We look, okay, what is the reason for things? What is the basis why things happen? What is the real cause, the deeper cause why things actually happen to us? And of course, we use Healy to tap into the information field. And of course, in a wrap-up or in a highlight like this, Burkhard Heim cannot be, let's say, not be there. So higher dimensions of the information field. So what are we seeing in this graph? So we are seeing that we have the energy space and we have the information space. So the first 6 dimensions are the energy space, and the other 6 dimensions up to dimension 12 is the information space. And dimension 1, we all know, that's matter in 3D. So 3 dimensions, that's what we know. So we have X, Y, Z. So that's our 3-dimensional world. So that are the first 3 dimensions. And then we have the 4th dimension, which is time, which is already hard to grasp. And then we have the energetic control level, like it is called, and that's dimension 5 and 6. So now we are talking about energy. So something that you usually cannot see anymore. So if you basically have your heart beating and the heart emits a magnetic field, you cannot see the magnetic field anymore. So at least we cannot see it anymore. And then in the 6th and 8th dimension, we have the global information field. So there you cannot even measure something anymore. So it's just information. As we learned, there's a little energy with information, so we could maybe measure something, but it's really hard. And then we have the G4, which is basically mirrored to the first 4 dimensions, which is matter and time. And of course, what we are accessing is the energy and the information field level to actually receive information that actually helps us. And here's this famous graph that we created in this one time that we sat together and with the purpose to see, okay, what is a way, or how can we illustrate all this complexity in one graph? And I will go through it very shortly. So the first level down here in the matter realm, we have the molecular body. And the molecular body, of course, you have your own body. That is quite easy to understand. You have the environment, might be a little more complex, and you have the universe that's a little out of scope, so hard to imagine all those different galaxies and so on. So, but it's still, easy to understand. Then you have the electromagnetic body that we already had in the first slide. So we have electrical current flowing through our body, and we have magnetic field that is emitted by our body, which you could also call, it's your aura, it's your field. And of course, this, let's say, electromagnetic things are also connected to the cell membrane potential. So there's a voltage basically that you have, which is different in the cell and out of the cell, or in the outer space of the cell. And this way, things can get into the cell, and toxins and waste products can get out of the cell. So that's also there. Also, electricity basically is used. And you have biophotons, and biophotons, of course, emitting energy, emitting very, very weak light energy. And all our cells do that all the time. That's what Fritz Albert found out. And then we have quantum processes and bioenergetic processes. And here, of course, we have also our resonance sensor, so our quantum noise source, basically, which we use to connect to the information field. And in between the, let's say, electromagnetic body and the information field, we have, of course, the bioenergetic field of the body. And the bioenergetic field is basically, the field that we emit, the field that is entangled with the information field. And that's also how it works when we basically send information to the information field. We change the information field, and the information field is entangled with our bioenergetic field. And through this entanglement, of course, there's a change in the bioenergetic field. And of course, the bioenergetic field is also connected to our electromagnetic body and molecular body. And so the change is basically carried on. And of course, we have our individual information field, which is also made up of our mind, soul, and body, and the global information field, which is made up of all the souls, minds, and bodies out there. And if you look now to the left side, you have the electrodes with the electrical current, basically, and the modulated electrical current with a certain frequency, which is basically working in the molecular body up to the bioenergetic field. Then we have the Healy coil, which is already working only in the electromagnetic body up to the information field. And we have, of course, our resonance or information field analysis, which works then in the bioenergetic field and the information field. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, and how do we do that? How do we interact with the information field? Of course, with the physical noise generator, so a quantum noise generator, basically. And here's the question that is quite important for us. So to what extent is terminal noise a result of the quantum world? And the answer is 2/3. So 2/3 of this terminal noise of those noise generators is actually quantum noise, so quantum events. And those events we are actually using. We are looking what those events actually do. And here is the most important slide, maybe of the information field presentation that I always do. And we just had that we are looking at quantum noise. And here we have basically the wave-particle interpretation. And on the right side, we have Bohm's interpretation of the wave-particle phenomena, so the observer effect, basically. So what do you call the observer effect and the wave-particle effect? So you have a particle, a photon or whatever, and you look at it, so you measure it, and then you see it's a particle. And if you don't look at it and you don't measure it, it's perceived as a wave, so it's everywhere. That was the classical approach. And he said, so David Bohm said, yeah, that doesn't make sense to me because it also offends physics. And he said, okay, we have a particle, and if you don't look, it moves in a wave form. So it moves around in a wave form. And it doesn't move randomly, it moves with a certain, let's say, intention or less. So it's not random. So this random noise that we have isn't so random at all. You know what I mean? So that's basically what his, let's say, new interpretation of this observer effect was, and of the wave-particle effect. So those particles move in a certain way, and they are guided in a certain way. So you might also say they are guided by the universe, by a higher force. So this seemingly complete randomness that we might think that happens is not random. And that's what we are using. We're using this, not random. So in German you say, es gibt keine Zufälle. There's nothing happened by chance. And exactly this is so true for us. And now, how does it actually work in practice? So how do we use this quantum noise source in connection with the Healy device or MagHealy device and, for example, the HealAdvisor Analyse app, so information field analyze. So as we all know, on the left side, we have databases of information patterns. So for example, the bug flowers. So we have 38 bug flowers, and you analyze one of them, which is the most important for you right now for your intended focus. And then you have a classical information transfer, which means you are processing those 38 bug flowers. So you're basically saying, okay, I have the first bug flower, give me some noise, quantum noise data for this bug flower. I have the second one, give me again noise data, and again and again. And you look which noise data is the, let's say, one which has the highest relevance for you. So what is happening? You have your bioenergetic field, so yours or one of the client. Then you have the individual information field, and they are of course entangled, as we already had. And then you have the individual information field of the system is entangled with the noise generator, so with our quantum noise source. And when this entanglement is established, so you are basically thinking about someone or connecting to someone that is actually the one that should be analyzed. You're using your Healy, so you're connected to your Healy, so your quantum noise source. And when these entanglements are actually established, then you start the analysis. Then you have this classical information transfer. And then you analyze for every bug flower how relevant it actually is. So that's how information field analysis actually works. And we now do another big jump to the patents. So we have a patent for the MagHealy, also for the quantum noise source that we're using. And of course, for Healy, we have also a patent for the Bluetooth connection. So this is a very secure connection, which you could also use for insulin pumps, because you're basically checking every time, is this actually the right intensity? Is it actually the right things showing up in the Healy app? Yes, then you can change the intensity again. So this is a very secure connection. And of course, we have Healy was approved in 35 countries as a medical device, which is quite difficult, because I was there when we started with the first certification in Europe, and then the second one was actually Canada, and then lots of other certifications came. I mean, in the meantime, we basically reduced our certifications, because we saw, okay, Healy is selling as a non-medical product so good. Why should we keep the certification and bear the costs? It doesn't make too much sense. And of course, we did a PMCF study, so a post-market clinical follow-up. So for all the indications that Healy is a medical product for in Europe, so for chronic pain, back pain, for pain of musculoskeletal system, fibromyalgia, migraine, depression, anxiety, and related sleep disorders, we did a study ourselves. It took 2 years in total and 6 months of study length. And the outcomes were basically, as you can see here. So this is the coherence T, so the effect size. And we had a very large effect size for depression, anxiety, and associated sleep disorders, medium large effect, or large effect, a large effect for migraine, very large effect for fibromyalgia, a large effect also for skeletal pain, and also for chronic back pain. So what does that mean? It means that Healy actually works. So the indications for the medical certification are in a practical end customer using the device like a normal human being way, are actually efficient. And that's a good thing. Very good. So we have an external consultant for our medical certification that supports us on all the things we cannot do internally. And he said, that's a really good result. And that's a very, very, he's a very, let's say, pragmatic person. So no over acceleration or something. So it's very bottom line. So after he said that, I really looked at the data in detail and I said, okay, that's a really good result. And now we come to all levels one ecosystem. So this, I really like this graph because it describes let's say very important thing that Sabine Weber, who created huge bunch of the time Weber databases and was a very gifted practitioner and had a huge knowledge. And she said to me back then, she said, you need to basically attack a problem from different angles, from different levels. So you cannot use only one level because it limits your chances to be successful. It limits your chances to be successful faster. And that's what we basically also duplicated in the time Weber and of course also in the Healy systems. So we are starting with microcurrent. This is something everyone can experience. You can feel microcurrent. That's something on the physical level. Then we go to the electrical field, which is now the HighWave. Everyone can understand how the HighWave works, but you cannot feel it anymore, or most of the people cannot feel it anymore. And it's a little more complex. It's a complete electrical field through the whole body. And then the magnetic field. So it's even further away because you cannot feel anything. So there are only a very few people in this world that can feel a magnetic field. And then you have the magnetic quantum potential. That's the Healy coil. So there you have those two coils that are emitting a very weak magnetic field and that are emitting a magnetic field that's opposite to each other. So the magnetic field lines cancel each other out. So the only thing that remains is a vector potential. So no magnetic field is more or less measurable anymore, but the vector potential. And that's really, no one can feel that. I mean, you can feel maybe the effects, yes, but you cannot feel the vector potential. And then the information field. And that's even harder to grasp because there you have quantum noise source. So what is quantum noise source? No one really has an understanding of it. So you have no picture for it. I mean, magnetic fields you can illustrate, you can picture, but quantum noise source, that's really hard to really picture in your mind. But if you look at the measurable data, it works. And that's basically the field, or in this graph, it's the one thing that's most far away from us. But at the end of the day, most likely has the hugest impact. It's like homeopathy if you talk about those delusions, and there the highest delusion has the biggest power, more or less, and it's the same here. If you really understand the information field and how to interact with the information field, can be more powerful than all the others together. But only, and that's maybe the most important thing, only if you use all those together at the same time, they are most effective. So you basically what she said to me is like, okay, I basically give you a remedy, something you can ingest. I give you frequencies that your body can understand. I give you a positive affirmation like we have in the information field analysis that your mind can understand or your emotions can understand. So if you combine those things, of course, the way to a holistically healthy life is much shorter than if you only have one thing that helps you. And now we make another big jump to the actual practical applications. And one system that we basically have in the MagHealy is the meridians. So there are 12 meridians in the whole body, and they are arranged in mirror image. So basically you have 6 on the one side and 6 on the other side. Oh no, wait a second, it's 12, no, 6. Yeah. And of course, every meridian, and that's I think the thing that is the most important to know about meridians is that all those meridians, all those acupuncture points, they are connected to certain emotions, mental states, and organs or functional circuits in the body. So if you trigger the right point, if you trigger the right, if you improve the coherence of the right meridian, you have an effect on mental states, organs, emotions, and functional circuits in the body. And that also makes this a complete system. So what I mean with complete system is that if you understand the meridians and understand how to interact with the meridians and the acupuncture points, then you basically can interact with every other system in the body, every other, let's say, state. So every issue that is out there, you can somehow address using this system. Of course, we have this yin-yang, let's say, distribution of the meridians. And yin meridians are usually inside of the body, and yang meridians are along the outside of the body. And I immediately will jump, since we don't have too much time, to a practical example. So first, what you do in the Meridian module, in the HealAdvisor Analyse app, the MagHealy, is you analyze the coherence of the meridians in the information field. So on the results screen, you basically see a list of all the meridians, and the most incoherent, basically the one that is most out of balance, is shown on top. You can of course also order them by clock, so by the organ clock, but for normal user, of course, the one that is the most incoherent is the most important. And then you have hyperactive and hypoactive. So too much order or too less order and too much order. So, and we are always need to be in the order and disorder need to be balanced. So if you then analyzed it, then you can use a focus. So you now know, okay, this meridian is out of balance, and what is actually my focus? So what do I want to change for myself with this analysis? Or where do I want to know what lies behind? So what's the issue that I have, and what lies behind the issue? So what are the deeper things that you can understand about the issue? And that's also a highlight of this presentation, and that's the right focus, not only for information field analysis, also for your life in general. So you need to be focused in the right way. So what should you do when you create a focus? You should first formulate it in a positive way. So it should not be negative language. It should be positive language. It should not contain any negative terms or negations. So I do not want to be not unhealthy. So that's lots of negatives. I want to be healthy. Make it simple, make it positive. And in the present, I am healthy. Even better. Describe the state in the future where the desired change already has happened or has occurred. So I am happy. I am healthy. And the quality of your focus text is directly related to the potential and accuracy of the analysis result. So if you have the right focus that actually resonates with what you actually want, and you are emotionally involved, then you usually get the best results. In our example I chose back then, I feel relaxed and full of energy, which is always good. In step 3, before you start the analysis, you imagine that you already have reached this new positive state. So you close your eyes and just imagine, okay, I am already healthy. I am already happy. How does it feel like? And you really experience this positive feeling. And if you experience it, then you can go into a feeling of gratitude, because you're really grateful that you will experience that in the future, in the near future, hopefully. And then I learned this from a very, very seasoned Heimweber specialist and trainer. And he said, yeah, what you need to be careful, or what I interpreted is, you need to be careful not to want too much. So you cannot force the information field to give you the right information for a certain issue. You can only give the right intention, the right focus. And then he said, what I always do, I wish that I achieve the optimal result for the client. And also possible, of course, the optimal result from yourself. Because optimal result is neutral. It's not, I want this, I want that. It's just the optimal result. And then you start the analysis. Then you see what happens. Yeah. Maybe one short thing in the other slide. So, of course, in the Meridian module, then every acupuncture point is analyzed for relevance. And then the two most important acupuncture points with the highest relevance are analyzed a little deeper. And they are analyzed with the 5 databases that we basically incorporated in the module. And this is Meridian blockages, Meridian emotional connections, affirmations for meridians, strengthening of the meridians, and psychological backgrounds. And there I want to highlight 2 of those databases. One is from Anthony Pepler. Unfortunately, she died some years ago. And she was one of those white witches. A witch always has a negative connotation, but actually white witches are the protectors. And so Sabine Weber once told me that women are actually the energy source or the energy center of a family. And everyone that has children knows that what they do and need to actually put in an energy to raise a child, that's a lot. I mean, men are not built for that, in my opinion. So a white witch is quite a powerful thing to say about something. And what you can do, or on the right side, you see the result. And she created all those databases herself. She had really a good connection to those things. So she took all the homeopathic remedies and assigned to them an emotional, psychological pattern. And here you have the harmonization of the stress pattern, basic renunciation of one's needs. And everyone knows that. We need something, but we were told as a child, no, you don't get it. And then we start to neglect our needs. We start to, I don't need that, I don't want that, to punish ourselves, basically, because we learned it in our childhood. And what I recommend always to do with those kind of databases, you read the stress pattern carefully. You reflect it for yourself. So what does it mean to reject your own needs in this case? And then try to remember the last time you experienced something similar. So when did I actually reject my own needs? Close your eyes and then you remember what was triggering it. So what was the first time you did this? When was the first time you actually rejected your own needs? And you mentally return to this situation. And then you tell your inner child that today it is free at last. So it can freely express what it needs. Maybe you hug your inner child and tell this fearful child back then, that's completely okay to need something and express what you need. Now you should experience the freedom inside. Freedom to be able to express what you need, that this stone is put off your shoulder, and of course in the Meridian module that this energy that is blocked in the Meridian actually can flow again. And The second database is from Sabine Weber. She also died, unfortunately, a few years ago, and she was really one of a kind. She had a practice with over 70 years. She had more patients than I think in a day that some other practitioners have in a week, and she always went from one room to the other room. She had lots of different machineries, lots of different techniques. She tried to combine everything, that every level basically is addressed with every client. And in the desired state of her database, you can read the last part after the column carefully. So you basically have here at the bottom, I can accept challenges, I can process new impressions. And for those databases, it's best to close your eyes and you visualize that this is exactly what you're currently experiencing. So you visualize that it's happening. So I can accept the challenges and I can process new impressions. I can really do that. And then you sense simply how it feels. And everyone knows if there's another thing that brings you in deep despair or makes you really desperate, you don't want to do anything anymore. But if you accept this as a challenge, if you really accept it as a challenge, not something that brings you down, not something that hurts you, you accept it as a challenge. And you simply process this challenge as a new information, as a new impression. You just process it. You don't block it, you process it. Okay. Then all the things that you will experience in your life do not seem so terrible anymore. Some practical tips, as always. So when you use visualizations, you need to free yourself from the concept of guilt. So guilt usually is built up also by the Catholic Church. They are working with guilt a lot, but that's no critique on them. That's just on the system that some build up. And if you understand that everything someone does, no matter who it is, no matter where he is, what ethnicity, what religion, whatever, the thing this person does is the thing that the person can think of as the first best solution to whatever situation that's coming up. And as we know, you can react in a trillion ways. And that's simply the way we react is the one that we think is the best one. And you say in German, hinterher ist man immer schlauer. So after something happened, you're most of the time smarter, so you wouldn't most likely do it in another way. And that's true for very large amount of decisions in our lives, that we would have done it maybe a little differently after we knew what was the result. So if you understand that people are not doing something on purpose because they purposefully would like to hurt people, it's just the best thing that they could come up with. And that is something that frees you of the concept of guilt at the end of the day. Because of course something happened, maybe it's terrible, maybe it's really terrible, but it's not something that someone planned long ago to actually hurt someone, because there's no other thing this person does. Usually something happened to this person, something terrible happened to this person, and then that's the best solution the person comes up with. If you get rid of this concept, you can finally forgive people. So you can forgive everyone that hurt you from the bottom of your heart. And you usually have this a lot in families. So people that are hurt by their parents, they not talk to their father for 20 years and so on. If you are able to forgive this person, even after the person died, that frees you, that frees this energy that blocks you all your life. So I think the other things are not so important on this slide. Yeah, let's go to the crown chakra. That shows the crown chakra, of course, on purpose. because I think the time we are now, so Christmas time, in Germany at least, it's a dark time, it's cold outside. You basically retract from the outside and sit inside. In this quiet time, as we call it, you are able to connect to yourself. All the noises of the world is not important anymore. You can connect to yourself. And if you connect to yourself, you also connect to your higher self, to whatever higher source you believe in. And I think this is one of the most important things if you actually work with information field analysis. You need to be connected to your higher source. You need to be connected to your inner source, which is a connection to your higher source. If you understand this concept, then you are able to act freely in an information field analysis. You're not acting out of some misleading self-help, or how do you call it? If you try to help someone very desperately, you're not acting out of this emotion. You are acting out of connectiveness, out of being connected to yourself, to your higher self. And this enables you to look at everything from an other angle, from a higher angle. In German it's called Vogelperspektive, so the view of a bird, basically. So you look from above, and that's the only way to be neutral about something and actually act in the best interest of someone. So in here I did also an aura analysis, which was quite mind-blowing back then. And the first topic here is: the person has experienced extortion and control through motherly love. And of course it was a reflection and analysis of myself. So that's also what I experienced. And also my mother died a few years ago. So all people are dying. I don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign. Mainly it's a sign that we as a younger generation actually need to take over and be the ones to guide the world also. It's not the older generation. They cannot do it anymore because it's so fast changing, this world, that we need to take over their place. And of course, this topic should be reflected upon. And when you experience something like this control through motherly love, you of course need to ask yourself first, how did it make me feel? So when I experienced this, how did it make me feel? So you understand what it does with you, how it changed you, how it blocks you. And in this case, also the chakra has a different color, so it's a really severe topic. And of course, there's no problem where there is no resolution. So the desired state shows you the path towards the resolution. So to feel the unconditional mother love deep within yourself again, in order to be strengthened and stable from your core. And that's what it does. If you love your children unconditionally, they are so strong in their core that nothing can actually bring them out of balance. So what you need in this situation is to really experience again for yourself this unconditional love. So what you can do is you close your eyes, go back to when this topic arose in your childhood. So when you didn't feel loved, and you felt sad, and you felt anxious, really anxious, because that's what happens for children. They're really anxious. They are fearing death. And I had this just a few weeks ago. I was really angry because of whatever. And then I always do this exercise with my wife, and I close my eyes and she asked me, okay, what's the reason? So why is this the case? And then I basically went back. She asked me these questions 3 times. I had 3 answers. And the 4th answer was the fear of death. And what is the fear of death? Usually it's when you're a child and something happens to you that you don't want, that feels wrong, but the only way to overcome it or not to be hurt is you follow whatever is needed, which is usually not good. So it's the fear of death that drives us very often to the wrong decisions and blocks us from within. But it's not the fear of dying, it's the fear that you have as a child that your parents, your mother, your father will not take care of you. And that's the fear of the death of a child. That's a difference. But this can be counteracted. So you go back there and you're no longer a child. You're no longer vulnerable in a large extent. No, now you are an adult. You are the master of your life. You can do whatever you want in your life, even if people make you believe you can't. So you have now freedom of choice. You can do whatever you want. And now you go back and visualize this event in a positive way. So whatever happened back then, you simply rewrite the story. You rewrite your own past. Because what happened, you cannot change. But you can change the emotional state of yourself. You can rewrite the emotions that are connected to this negative event. And that's what you can do. So you basically close your eyes, you get back there where it happened, and then simply whatever happened, maybe your mother told you, or hurt you, or slapped you, or whatever, and you imagine that your mother tells you, okay, I'm very sorry, I was so full of stress, I had no other chance, I couldn't help myself, and I was so sorry for whatever I did. And then you rewrote your emotional state. So your emotions finally understand that this was not done because it was against you. It was done because of desperation, because the other person had no other choice. As we had in the slides before, there is no, that someone is, what do you call it? Free yourself of the concept of guilt. So there's no guilt that should basically block you. And this is what is very important in this situation. So if you feel guilty, or if you think about this guilt issue, blocks you in this situation. So free yourself of this and simply imagine that your child, your inner child in this case, is safe again and can freely express what is not good for it. And allow then this positive feeling that arose or will arise to stream through your whole body, because now you can heal your emotional body with this positive new reality. And we have the last minute and the last slide, almost the last, and that's the authentic self. So if you use information field analysis, as I just showed you those very short examples for the Meridian module and the Aura module, and you of course have all the resonance databases, and find out what actually blocks you, then you can easily supercharge your self-development. So, and for me, the goal of self-development is always to rediscover your authentic self. So you were born in this world with a certain purpose, with certain gifts that are unique to yourself. And through a lot of traumatic exercises or things that happen to you, you are not able to use all of those gifts. You're not free to use them. But if you self-develop, if you find those things that block you, you can actually be the person you want to be or you're meant to be. So as you see here, through our lives, we learned that we need to do things we do not want to do. So people tell us, yes, sit still, do this, do that. And they basically punish us if we are not doing that. And also we forget that life is not about doing things that others want us to do. So often we are in a state that we think, okay, I need to do this because this person likes it like that. I need to do this because this person likes it like that. And life is actually about learning what your unique gifts are. So to discover what you really want to do. So not what you can do in a good way, but what you want to do, and automatically you do it in a good way, in the best way. You're most likely the best person or the only person that can do those things in such an amazing way. And then you can use, and I think that's the noble cause that everyone should have in his life, and can use those unique gifts to bring joy and happiness to everyone else in the world, to everyone around you. And just imagine that everyone would do that. And that's, for me, the authentic self. If you rediscover who you really are, who you're meant to be, and bring this into the world, bring your gifts into the world. And at the end of the day, I can just wish you, especially around the Christmas time, to connect to your inner wisdom and discover who you really are.
Thank you so much, Martin. I know that you're already late for the German session. Only one question, very quick, and then you're free to go. And I will close the meeting without you. Just one question: that the MagHealy Meridian analysis also can be done remotely and also vibrate remotely.
Yes. That's the principle of quantum entanglement. That's the beauty of quantum entanglement, that you are not, let's say, need to be connected to something. You need to connect to something emotionally with your intention. And that actually creates a real connection on a different level.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will close the meeting. You are free to go. Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah, this was again a very, very useful and informative training for all of us. I'm sure you all think like that. This was also the last training of 2025 as a masterclass training. We will continue our trainings in the next year, of course. We will let you know the exact date so that you can pin your calendars. And I'm wishing you all a wonderful weekend, and if we don't see each other until the next year, I'm wishing everybody a great new year. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.